Greetings, conversationalists, conservatives, and for the next couple of weeks, we hope voters in the Republican primary. Um, Thank you for tuning in to the David Russell Show. I'm David Russell. Today we have a special guest. He is running for an open seat on the bench for McLennan County 170th District Court. Barrett Thomas. Barrett, welcome to the program.
Thank you, my friend. How have you been?
Oh, excellent. Just like you said, campaign time is difficult on anybody that's connected to campaigns. People don't realize what it's like to run for any office. It's
Yep,
expensive. It's hard to get people to come out and vote. And of course, the big thing is we just want to get people to understand what we're trying to do.
it's like 7-Eleven. You start at 7 in the morning, you end at 11 p.m., and then you do it again.
True,
So
true.
we've been pretty busy. I want to tell your viewers, I apologize that I'm in a ball cap and a t-shirt, but it's walking time. And so we've been out walking blocks, and I had to move some stuff today from one office to another. So I hope that they can forgive my casual attire.
I'm sure they can. The main
Yeah.
thing is to get to know. You know, voter apathy is one of the biggest issues we see. And what people say about these, this is an important race, but they call it a down ballot uh, race because judges are down versus, governors and senators and that type of stuff. But this is extremely important. And in this situation, it's even more important because the Democrats didn't even field a candidate. So whoever wins in this primary, they will be on the bench.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to point that out that we can make a difference on who we have. And of
Yeah.
course, we're going to be talking about what this court does and the vision for this court, but we'll get in that a little bit later. I kind of thought what we would do is break this out in three parts. The first, a little bit about your upbringing, your connections to Central Texas, um, some of your family connections, of course, your career, your path that you took to get to this point. I think very ties in very smoothly. The second part is how this court has been operating for the last several years. You know more about it than most anybody. People see 170th and whatever other courts, and they don't know that they're kind of specified to a degree. I've got a friend that's a patent attorney, and of course, they only see a certain judge that is more geared towards patents. Um, the third thing is the campaign, maybe a little bit of the contrast between you and your opponent. We don't want to be throwing any mud at anybody, but we there is a contrast no matter what, and uh, why you feel like you would be best for this. I'll close up with a little information about the 2 weeks of voting we have here and the timings and where to vote.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
we'll start with those three things. So tell me
Okay.
about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm a Waco kid. I graduated from Waco High. My girls are actually sixth generation at Austin Avenue Methodist Church. So
Wow.
six generations, we've been around a little bit.
Yes.
My granddad, Carl Barrett, Carl and Kay Barrett, he was an insurance salesman. He started a company called Jackson and Barrett, and they ultimately folded in
Yes.
to Insurers of Texas with Tom Chase. And then on my other side of the family was the Oates family, who owned and ran Central Texas Iron Works for years and years.
Two big companies.
Yeah. And so we've been around here for a long time. My parents were both psychologists. My mother was an educational psychologist. My dad was a forensic psychologist, but I think sometimes people think that's different than it is. He wasn't a profiler. He just worked with law enforcement on a whole host of issues. And what's funny about that is both of those played into my career ultimately. And so I started off as a cop and very interested in law enforcement and was a prosecutor. But then ultimately, I found a home as far as a professional career working with children and families. And that's what my mother did for 30 years for Waco ISD. And so it's been very, very special to me to be involved with groups that she worked with. So, like, for example, the McLennan County ARC, I've just recently gotten involved with them. And she had such a profound impact with them. It's really a wonderful thing to kind of be a second generation and something that gives back so much. But yeah, Waco is home for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, the mental health issues in America, and of course, McLennan County is part of it, seems to be growing instead of getting smaller.
Yeah.
And judges that understand that could probably help guide some of these issues that's going
Yeah.
on.
I don't know if they're growing. We definitely notice a lot more. I think we as a society are more educated about mental health. I can certainly remember when in law enforcement they began crisis intervention training, and those types of issues were brought to the forefront. Um, I personally am working on a master's in marriage and family counseling, and I started that because in the family law field, that is such a critical component, is understanding mental health, mental makeup, the things that drive people's decisions, and how conflict arises within families and relationships. Um, so that's kind of like my biggest reason for running is
Yes.
that I've been doing family law now for 15 years. When I started off as a prosecutor, I was assigned to crimes against women and children later on in my prosecution career,
Hmm.
and I noticed that we would get to the end and we had worked with these victims, and you develop a really close relationship with them. And there's all sorts of resources. We have what's called victims assistance coordinators that can help them, and then you get to the end and they would just kind of drop off,
Yes.
and there wasn't the same amount of resources available. And just like in law enforcement, I found myself saying, well, that's a civil issue. And
Hmm.
when you've invested so much time into somebody's life, telling them that you can't help them any longer really just pulls at your heartstrings. I
Sure.
mean, this is somebody that you cared about and that helped you achieve something that the community needed in locking up a predator. So I did jump over to the family law side, and over 15 years, I really kind of got to know um, family law to a degree that I understand where its faults are.
And you was
And
very successful, if I understand it
what
correctly. Didn't
you
you
know
had
what?
quite a few offices around Texas, and I believe voted top lawyer in your field in multiple cities, even ones that you didn't live in. So,
We had been very, very fortunate, and we had had some really great success. So we had been voted best in Abilene, best in Waco. We had received a super lawyer designation. My partner and I both had actually.
mhm,
I think at one time we had 4 super lawyers in the firm.
impressive.
And it just was one of those things where it got to be what drove us was litigation.
Mhm,
But I'm not a spring chicken anymore.
mhm,
And somewhere along the way, I started to really question, because of my faith, what we were doing. I had always gone after helping families and children, but then I realized that in some of this litigation, we would really go after the other parent because it's an adversarial system, and you really have to take a shotgun approach. And
a win lose.
oh yeah, and you're attacking the other parent.
Mhm,
And ultimately, that breaks down the relationship with the parents, and it causes the parents not to be able to collaborate for the child. And we
yes.
want them to co-parent above all else. And so I started doing it different. We started really taking a Christian perspective on it, and hoping to restore relationships instead of break them down. We like to say we started a mediation firm. It's called Christian Family Law Solutions, and we like to say that we are bridge builders, peacemakers, and trust restorers. And our job is to customize divorce decrees if we can't bring about a reconciliation, is to customize divorce decrees to help people work together for their child's sake and to keep children out of the courtroom. And it works.
Sure.
It's a process of listening. You just have to listen. You have to understand. You have to go back a little further back and understand where the conflict started at the first place.
Sure.
And then once you focus in on those things, you can customize a solution that works for them. And I knew it would work in the courtroom. And so that's why I'm here. I don't make any bones about it. I am here to try to take McLennan County family law into the next generation, to bring in some of the psychology and the understanding of emotions and families that we have now that hasn't always been considered when we're making these family rulings, and to really just do a deep dive into trying to do what's best for those people.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like something that other counties may specialize a little bit more on, that McLennan County has been
Yeah.
slow to, even though, if I understand it correctly, and I was going to get in this in the second section, what has this court been doing?
Yeah.
It sounds like it's been toying with this, but tell me about that.
Well, you've done your homework. So clearly, yes, there are, and you go to El Paso, when you go to El Paso, Dallas, Tarrant County, Bexar County, Harris, you're going to find individual family courts, and you're going to have family law judges that are well versed in family law. Most of them, with me, attend advanced family law training every year, and this is what they do day in and day out. In Waco, we have traditionally had just statutory district courts that have general jurisdiction and they can do anything, and that was designed for the purpose of the courts being able to help each other out with anything that falls within the district court jurisdiction.
If that one gets overloaded, to try to
Correct.
spread it
Correct.
out. Yes.
And and here's the thing. My opponent is running on a criminal background and saying that she'd like to do some criminal law. Hey, I'm whole with her on the criminal law. In addition to being a prosecutor like she was, I actually hold a master's peace officer certificate. I'm a former police officer. I held a master's degree in criminal justice. I'm a former instructor for law enforcement. But that's not what this court did.
Mm.
So for the last 20 plus years, this court has been predominantly family law. It's over 50% family law. And I'm not trying to be rude to my opponent, but she's never tried a family law case. And so what's so critical to me is that in a courtroom where we're going to place our children and ask the court to make decisions that will impact the lives of the growing generation,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody knows that area.
Sure.
There's research that's been done on adverse childhood experiences, and as part of my master's program, we study that a lot. And essentially, when a child goes past 4 adverse childhood experiences, they can start to really demonstrate some statistical likelihood of some really negative things, such as teenage pregnancy or teenage suicide attempts or teenage drug use. What I really hope to do is create a kind, collaborative, solution-focused court where we bring the parents in and we don't pit them against each other.
That's a big
It's as
thing.
simple as explaining to the attorneys and telling the attorneys that, number one, we're going to follow the Texas Lawyers Creed.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be respectful to each other because it's in the way we act to each other that these two parties are going to learn how they should be acting in court. And if we're going to support the rule of law, then it needs to start with the attorneys demonstrating what professional courtesy is, what kindness is, what respect is, even in the midst of conflict.
We might need that for campaigning.
We definitely need that for campaigning. It's been wild. I thought this would be a really, really kind race, and it has been from my side. We've tried to keep it optimistic and
well, it's
just talk
difficult.
about what we're good at.
It's
Yeah.
difficult from the standpoint of nerves gets the best of people. You've got money. People don't realize how much mailing out these things
Oh
cost.
yeah.
And of course,
Hmm.
the sad thing is when you get this, too many people go, "Oh, this is nice. He's a nice looking guy. Where's the trash can?" It goes in the junk mail. So programs like this will help get that information out, so you can see a little more of what you're dealing with. And
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think it's critical that people understand that in my position, the way I've seen it over 15 years in the family courts, these are not like small decisions. These are life and death decisions.
Correct.
And they need to be made with somebody with experience and somebody that wants to focus on it. That's the key, is that I've always wanted to be a family lawyer, and I'm running for a family court
Correct.
because these are the issues that I'm willing to spend the time to really know all the nuts and bolts to try to make the best decision. We have great judges
Yes.
across the board in Waco, but the problem is, if I don't win, we will not have a single judge in McLennan County that has a true family law background.
Correct.
And at some point, even if we're not going to have the number of courts we used to, because we used to have 3 that essentially had a family law background,
Hmm.
at some point, if we're not going to have that, we at least need one person that can kind of use their experience to help the others get through those types of cases.
Correct.
I mean, I wouldn't go, it's like a cardiologist and a pulmonologist. A pulmonologist is not going to go tell a cardiologist how to do heart surgery and vice
Correct.
versa. You would rely on the person whose expertise is in that field. And right now we have great crim lawyers. We have great business and commercial lawyers. We have people that can do literally every field but family law. And so my argument is to allow a division of labor amongst the court, to allow there to be expertise in all areas, and to really keep a court that's predominantly done family law, family law.
My dream was for my son to be an attorney. Some people say
Mm.
I'm sick about that, but I just have a high esteem for attorneys that can maneuver through all the issues with the laws and straighten things out. And one of the first things that, whenever we talked about it, I said, "Don't do family law." And the reason was because it will break your heart. It's such a
Mm.
difficult thing, and you have to have a heart for that. It sounds like, because of your upbringing, number one, kind of got you into it. And of course, with the police work, that helped, and just everything leading up to this point. Um,
But just to be clear, it wasn't just that. I felt a true calling to spread a message.
yes,
And David, I don't know if I'm going to win this election or not. And I don't want any of your viewers to think that I don't care. I care very much about whether I win. But I also happen to come from a very strong faith background.
yes,
And I know that God has a tremendous life for me. And I'm going to make an impact on children's lives, families in McLennan County, regardless of what my role is. I'm not waiting to find out if I'm going to be working with children and families on March 4th. I'm waiting to find out how I will be.
even better.
Um,
Yes.
and so when I think about it, all that God told me was, we have got to change this.
Hmm.
We cannot keep creating toxic situations and breaking down family relationships and then sending these children out to deal with the adverse experiences we just talked about. It's time that somebody that truly loved family law and that wants to focus on these kids and really find solutions, help people collaborate, just like what we do with the mediation firm, help people in the court find peace, restore trust,
Yes.
and build bridges. We need that before this next generation, who's already suffering from not having what we grew up with about the close, human contact. They spend so much time on their phones, they spend so much time on computers and doing all that. We need to focus on these kids and really get involved in their lives.
Well, we're both Christians, and I'm sure many people will be watching this will be Christians. And I just believe that the evil one focuses on going after the family, tries to destroy marriage because you're weaker separate. And there again, if he can make a attorney or a court that will help divide even more, that just gives him that much more success. And it's just sad. Um,
Well, I am overflowing with ideas. I don't know how much time you have, but another one I want to really touch on
yes.
is we have an issue right now with people that don't have access to justice.
Yes.
So we live in a county where a lot of people can't afford an attorney.
Yes.
And we have an indigent defense coordinator, but people a lot of times don't realize that you're not entitled to a free attorney for family law.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially you have to represent yourself. And I've never seen a court really get involved with that. I serve on the Mission Waco board. And so issues that revolve around poverty and an inability to just basically get the same types of rights that we that have the funds expect,
Mm-hmm.
that matters to me. One of the ideas I have is to actually set up a class every couple of weeks. I can't advise litigants that would come before my court.
Sure.
But what I can do is I can take them and demonstrate on Texas Family Law Help where they can get all the forms. I can teach them in a every other week 1 hour session about how to file with the clerk, how to ask the coordinator for a setting, how to give notice of that setting, and right off the bat, how to get the other party served. If I can help these people get before the court and keep these cases turning, the biggest thing we can do for these people is just give them rulings.
Right.
Just do what the court's supposed to do. But for so many of these people, the access is not there. They can't get into the court to get a ruling.
I haven't asked this before, but how is the backlog in this court?
The backlog is there. It's not like it got with the criminal cases during COVID. For one reason, we did a lot of Zoom
Mm-hmm.
court.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a lot more civil courts that remained active. I will say that the numbers are overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think that it's any surprise to anybody how many people file for divorce these days and what the
Mm-hmm.
percentages are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that needs to be basically kept. We need to keep ahead of the wave, so to speak. And one way we can do that is by making orders quicker, to really issue orders as soon as the hearings are over. I mean, there's a million things I could tell you that I would love to get involved in creating new ways to benefit the community more. But I think you told me 30 minutes. So you
We're
tell
going to
me.
try to. I kind of let it go.
Yeah,
I was going to mention this link
a
letter.
link letter.
Yeah, let
Yeah,
me get it to the right place.
yeah.
It's not bad, but people need to be aware of that it is on this sheet a pay to get endorsed, and I'm told what $11,000 or something like that.
Yeah, it's an advertisement.
Yes,
What's so funny about advertisements is that you never know which ones work. So
correct.
I'm told that that's a fairly effective one. But for us, it just felt a little weird. And so we did. I saw that you held up our card earlier.
Yes,
Those cards, believe it or not, those run about $11,000.
yes.
So for the postage to send those out to the numbers that we do, it seemed like a better spend to me to actually put out literature that we wanted people to see and to know about our campaign. I could be wrong, I don't know, but it
That's
seemed weird to me to send a bunch of money to a man in Harris County.
correct.
That I think I read that he grossed $3 million last year off selling that advertisement.
Correct.
And
Because
I
he does it
think,
in every county, 245 counties.
yeah, and he spelled ours wrong. If I remember reading it on there, there's one spot where it says McLennan, but it
Yeah,
spells it wrong.
yeah.
So anyway, obviously not a local person.
No,
And I've got a few people that I can't publicly endorse, but there's a couple names on there that I think voters should really consider that it was frustrating to not have their name on there.
well, and my point is if you take this sample ballot in,
Hmm.
mark through some names. This is a possibility. Just mark
Sure,
through
read
it.
you
And
like actually know the candidates,
yeah,
figure out who's best for you. Yeah,
yes,
that'd be great.
yes. And if you take it, or we're going to have some other sample ballots in other places that you can fill out. You can download a ballot for your precinct directly from McLennan County. So that's another thing that helps.
Mhm.
Um, we talked about there is some contrast
Mhm.
between you and your the opponent. Um, Not saying that someone that was born from someplace else is bad, but what was it? She went to Michigan, I believe, or something like that, or
Well, She was born at Michigan. I think she went to Michigan State and Kentucky Law School.
Yeah,
Where she
which is fine, but there again, we're kind of Texans, and we look at Texas law, Texas things,
Mhm.
and you're very much tied to Texas more than anything else. So I just kind of
I
want.
didn't get to choose it, but I would have if I did.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, I mean, I grew up here, went to Hardin-Simmons. When I was policing, I did a master's at Tarleton. I wound up at law school at Texas Tech. I'm now going to Texas Wesleyan. Texas churches, Texas schools, Waco High, by the way. Texas schools, Texas churches, Texas community is front and center to my core. It's made me who I am. It's part of what creates my belief system. Um, and then I think also just being a business owner here and engaging in the business community here and learning how to grind and what it's like to have people depending on you for a salary.
I think
Kind
that's
of
bigger than people realize. Having to make a payroll is
scary.
yes, it is. You have a number that you have to cover whenever the payroll's there, and it's nerve wracking that you
Yeah.
have to make sure that happens, and you can't. It's one of the things that I see in different councils and different school boards. If they've never had to make a payroll, boy, it's easy to vote for anything. But when you make a payroll, you're concerned about budgets, and I say that from the standpoint of a judge, because you know orders, you got to make sure it fits with everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So I will say that I am open. One of the main things we do as judicial candidates is we never want to put ourselves in the place that we can't look at all the facts presented to us and make an impartial decision based on just the evidence. But I will say that, having run a business, I understand how hard that is. And business owners, local small moms and pops, they're going to find a friendly place in my courtroom.
that's
Uh,
good. That's
so
good.
when I look at, that is another thing that potentially distinguishes us. If you look at Miss Long's finance report, she's largely funded by insurance companies and plaintiffs' lawyers.
Ooh,
And I don't know that, to me, that is specifically who I think are the most conservative people, and the people out there that really want to get in there and make changes, positive changes by their own hands in the
yes,
community.
yes,
And so that's something that's important to me. The last thing I would tell you is just that I think that she talks about all of her friends that are police officers and law enforcement. Well, all my time in law enforcement was in Abilene and west of Abilene. So
yes,
I could throw those names out there. In fact, there's some of them that did. I mean, one of my good friends, Lieutenant Parker, who was a lieutenant with the Texas Rangers and helped me work a murder case, is in my list of endorsements and actually tells the story of us getting this guy arrested and convicted for murder and his wife.
mhm,
And I have all those. But the difference is, I'm not talking about my friends that were in law enforcement. I was in law enforcement.
true.
I was the one that actually was wearing the badge and going out there and doing the things. And I can tell you that when you have that experience, then law enforcement also gets a sound person that understands their policy, understands their procedure, understands what it's like to make that split-second decision about whether I shoot or whether I don't when my life's in
Life
line.
and death. Yes, that's something.
And so, lots of background on that, but ultimately, I just don't know that that's relevant. It could be if the court's asked to handle some criminal cases,
And there might
but
be some cases, but it's not the
yeah,
majority. Hopefully, it sounds like the majority will be,
family case,
yeah,
yeah,
divorces and child custody and that type of stuff. Yeah. So, well, this is people don't realize these what they call down ballot races are so important. And the reason I think people don't get out and vote is they don't know who's running. And of course, it's hard knocking on enough doors, getting people to answer the doors. Um, I had people tell me, well, why didn't you come by and see me? I said, I went by this time and this time and this time. I could hear you in there. You didn't open the door. So, but that's, the problem that you have the issue with. So anyway, I wanted to bring up the voting times because, that's another thing that we hear from time to time or used to hear is, oh, I'm too busy to go vote. Well, we have 5 early voting places. The most successful one is the First Assembly of God on Bosque Avenue in Waco. The second busiest is Hewitt City Hall. That's at 200 Patriot Court. If you're from Hewitt, you know where that is. Robinson does pretty well. It's in a very odd place. It's 106 West Lynch Avenue, but you almost have to live in Robinson to know where it is. It's behind the convenience store. So, but it works for them, and I'm happy for them. McLennan County election office in the main records building. Now, it's probably on the opposite side from where most people go in, and it's kind of downstairs. It's kind of small, but it's there, and anybody lives downtown or works downtown, it's a good place to go. And then the multi-purpose community center on Elm. There again, we appreciate votes anywhere. Now, tomorrow through Friday, polls open at 8 a.m., goes till 5 p.m. Saturday opens at 7 a.m. and goes to 7 p.m. Now, that's almost like convenience store hours.
Right.
You can even vote on Sunday, 1 p.m. after church to 7 p.m. again. Now, the Monday through Friday after that for the early voting is 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we're giving a lot of time to get out and vote. Please talk to your neighbors about voting. Tell them who you're wanting to vote and get them to come out. If you have some elderly family that doesn't get out, go get them and say, let me take you to the polls, and you can talk to them about who you might want to vote. If you know people in rest homes, they love to get out and vote. They're usually more wanting to vote than anything else. You do them a wonderful favor. Now, on election day, I think there's 47 locations, just about everywhere, and you'll see
Yeah.
where all. Election day is March 3rd, and that's from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Just about all the candidates will be out on that day, and they'll have surrogates out on different places. Now, you can probably contact, I'm trying to see, do you have a way to contact? Probably through your website if somebody just really wants to talk to you, or how would
They
be
can email me at barrett@barrettforjudge.com. Remember that 4 is the number 4. So Barrett
yes.
at barrettforjudge.com. They can also call Lighthouse Legal. They can call Christian Family Law Solutions. All those companies, they'll know how to still get me. If I could say one thing to close, I would want the viewers to know this. I think that it is going to be awesome if people get up and vote. Um, but ultimately, we've got to make some changes, and I'm going to be doing that one way or the other. So I hope that when this election is over and the dust settles, whether it's me or Gina, I'm going to jump into the Gina camp and I'm going to ask everybody that we can to try to tell our judges that are on the bench, if it's not me, just how important family law is and what changes we want to see. And what those are more customization, more focus, faster orders, access to justice for indigent families. I hope that people will start to really concentrate on the effects of alienation, which is a form of child abuse.
Yes.
That fathers' rights will still be upheld, but that we also would hold fathers accountable and say, listen, you can't just be a guy that comes in on the weekend and doesn't support your child. That goes both ways. So all of these issues can really change our whole community, but we've got to focus on them and they have to become important. It can't just be, oh, whoever is judge can handle a divorce. That's just not true. There needs to be somebody that cares and is passionate about it.
There's so many things that we need to change in this world. We've seen it going in one way for a while. It's kind of a pendulum, goes back and forth. But the nice thing about Texas is it seems like we've been going in a positive way. We need everyone to pull this wagon. And a way to pull this wagon is getting out and voting.
That's right.
So we appreciate you watching this program. Barrett, thank you for being on this program. We might have you again maybe before March 3rd or maybe even afterwards to talk about other things that we could help our society with to improve. But for
I'd
now,
love to. Yeah.
for now, let's end the program. I'll get it up here and please get out and vote. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for having me, David. I
Sure
really
thing.
appreciate it.
Thank you.